say and spell your name for us when you start, just so we can get it?
My name is Steve Thompson, S-T-E-V-E, and then Thompson's T-H-O-M-P-S-O-N.
And your title, Mr. Thompson?
Superintendent.
Okay. Is everybody good?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, go ahead with whatever you need to say first.
Okay. Well, first of all, I just thank you for being here and helping us get out the correct information. So thank you very much for coming on short notice this afternoon. In light of the perception of the Civil War icon, Willoughby East Lake City Schools has made the move to identify a new figure to represent the South High School Rebels. When the decision was initially identified, the South High Rebels was a Civil War icon, and it was their mascot, obviously. And it was done as a symbol of the history of the country. But like many things, times have changed, and the rebel mascot has now taken on a negative connotation, and as the district, we do not feel it's in the best interest of the community and our students to perpetuate this sentiment. It is the plan of the district to seek input from our students first and foremost, from our staff and the community to identify a new mascot for the South High Rebels and launch that mascot once consensus has been reached. Until this process has been completed, we will continue to remove the Rebel mascot from the district property and from school attire. Willoughby East Lake City Schools strives to provide a learning environment that is conclusive of all of our students, and we hope that this decision enhances the environment for our students.
Can you say who is responsible for this decision? Is it you? Is it the school board?
Ultimately, it's my decision. And why that decision? I have had multiple input from community members expressing concern. And then at the end of the day, when I ask myself, I figure at some point I'm going to be standing here. And I want to be standing on the right side of history and not make the easy decision which lacks courage. I personally believe that that's the right decision to make.
Do I understand, will you be keeping the name Rebel, just changing the mascot, or will the name change?
What we're doing at this point, we're going to form our committees of students, community members, and parents. At that point, they're going to work on the mascot. We're going to give them the opportunity to look at the name itself. It is not our intent to change it at this time. I think what creates the problem is what the Rebel name is associated with currently. And the Civil War mascot links it obviously to the Civil War. But Rebel can mean a lot of things. George Washington was a rebel, for example.
And I'm correct that historically, and tell me if I'm wrong, there was a Confederate flag associated with it that was removed like in the 90s, is that correct?
The Confederate flag has been being phased out for a long time, but it was completely barred 4 years ago.
4 years.
Did the events in Charlottesville have a bearing on the decision?
You know, I think what the events in Charlottesville did was just bring it back to the surface. It's always right under the surface and has been since 2011. That's when I became the superintendent here. I think at this point we can no longer ignore it.
Has it been controversial here for a while, and this was a tipping point, or how would you describe it?
I would describe it as a buildup of time. We're having more and more community people express concern. And obviously there are those that are diehard Rebel fans and Confederate icon mascot supporters. So it's a very divisive thing in our community, and that's why I think it's important for us to work through our students and through the community to try and find a resolution that we can all be comfortable with.
Is this going to seep down into the school dress code? You have seniors who have traditional freshman, junior year that have Rebel mascot on
Right.
it. Is that going to be permitted or no?
We're going to phase that out over time.
So the dress code will reflect that that is not permitted?
No, we're going to phase that out over time.
So you're saying overtime students will not even be allowed to wear the Confederate Rebel?
At some point.
So right now, a student could come to school with a Rebel logo, but at some point they may not allow it to be. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
You said ultimately it was your decision. So there was Charlottesville, there was the Trump Tower News Conference. There's been a lot happening the past few days. What tipped it for you to make this decision to call us all here?
statement that the school makes to its community, not only by changing the mascot, but potentially changing the name.
I think that I think the message is that we want to be an inclusive community, and I believe we are an inclusive community. And from those outside of the community, I think they have a difficult time understanding what they see here when they come here.
You said your conscience. What did your conscience tell you?
That I should have the courage to make the change even though it's unpopular.
Are you prepared for backlash in whatever form they come?
I'm sure it's gonna come, so I'm as prepared as I can be.
And you said, I just don't know the community, when you said it's unpopular, is it your sense that the sentiment of the majority of the community is against you and you still think it's the right thing to do? Do you think it's about split? Do you have any sense of where the community is?
I don't really have a sense. As you know, it's the majority of people will probably not weigh in at all. And oftentimes it's the quiet minority that can seem like the majority. You know, I haven't conducted a survey. I can't tell you exactly, but my experience in changing anything brings out resentment, brings out pushback. So this is near and dear to some people's hearts, and so of course it'll bring supporters and detractors.
So you didn't want to have any sort of open community forum where the community and parents got the chance, or students, to express their feelings before making the change?
We thought it was the right thing to do, how we did it, and we think it's important to involve the community to select the new mascot, and I think that's where we'll seek our community input and our student input.
Are you concerned that this could be, in a way, sending a mixed message? Yes, you're saying that you decided to have the courage to step up and make this change, even though it might not be in favor. But on the other hand, are students not seeing this is going on around us and we're getting into this?
Getting into what?
We're changing because, okay, we have the riots in Charlottesville, all because of a rebel flag, a rebel figure. Are you not concerned that students might say, okay, this riot has led to this, so rioting is the way to get change?
No, I think you're missing the point. The point wasn't because it was a Confederate statue or it was a flag or any other symbol. It was because there's a movement in this country to be inclusive and to not discriminate. And at one point it wasn't viewed that way. At one point Jim Crow laws were acceptable across the community. At one point it was acceptable to have black and white schools, and we called them separate but equal. Times change and people's views change. So I think it's bigger than a flag or bigger than a mascot.
Can you be inclusive without erasing history?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, the rebels is part of the history of the school. It's part of the history. The Civil War is part of the history of the American story. That's not going anywhere, but how we view it sometimes changes over the course of time.
Was part of your decision the adaptation of some of the symbols by some of the groups that we've seen in Charlottesville?
Well, I don't know. You know, I can't say that I gave that a lot of thought, but I can tell you that I just think it's important that we do what's best for all of our students. We have a very diverse student population, we have a diverse community, and I think we need to support that.
The one word that we're seeing people who are opposed to this using on Facebook, and there are a lot of Facebook comments about this,
I'm sure.
is backbone. You
Yeah.
know, we got to keep our backbone. They have no backbone. America's losing its backbone. What would you say about that?
I would say that the easiest decision to make would be to do nothing. That's the easiest decision to make. So what takes backbone?
How many years has that mascot been around, and do you have an idea what you can replace it with?
It's been around since 1959, since the inception of the school. I'm not sure, because we're going to bring that committee together, but there are a lot of options out there that exist. You know, for example, if you looked at the New England Patriots and you looked at that symbol, for example, just as an example, that connotation links the name rebels to a different era and a different time and a different cause. So, for example.
Mr. Thompson, Who's to say, someone after you, doesn't come back and bring the mascot back in a few years?
Well, you just fired me, in 2 years, but, which I guess is possible. You know, I can't worry about that. If that is the decision of that superintendent and that school board, then I guess that's their decision, and they'll either get the credit or the blame for doing so.
Did the school board, did you consult with the school board? Did they take, I don't think they took a vote, or
No.
is this your decision?
This is my initiative. It was, frankly, I didn't think that we would be, that it would gain the momentum that it's gained 4 years ago when we got rid of the Confederate flag in our schools. It was pretty quiet. We just did it. So at this point, we would involve the school board. Obviously, the school board, if we change a name, has to vote on that. Ultimately, it's the school board's decision. This seemed like an administrative action just to change the mascot. So, no, the board has not officially taken any action on this.
4 years ago, when you got rid of the flag, did you also want to get rid of the rebel soldier?
Well, at that point, we got rid of the rebel soldier where there was guns. At one point, the rebel soldier carried a Confederate flag, and that was modified. And then we got rid of the 6-shooters, and so we modified the rebel guy. Had been modified through the athletic department, actually, but we made the decision to get rid of the rebel
So
guy.
as you know, you said, you know, you got much more, I don't know, feedback is the right word now than you did 4 years ago when you
Correct.
removed
Correct.
the flag.
Well, I think part of it too is what was out on social media wasn't correct either. What was out on social media, as I understand it, is that we were changing the rebel name. So I think there's some confusion out there, and that's why this will be very helpful in terms of getting out the right information. So I appreciate that.
You will likely, as you know, take more heat than you did 4 years ago. You're fine with that?
Well, it's not something I'm looking forward to, but obviously I knew that would be the repercussions, so I'm prepared for that.
You made it sound like if the community forum gets together to come up with a new mascot, that there is the possibility that if they choose to, they could get rid of the rebel name as well.
We're going to give them that leeway to make a recommendation. They may recommend rebels, they may not even talk about that. Their main focus is going to be on the mascot itself. But if they make a recommendation to change the name, as we'll open a new high school in 2 years, we'll take that information to the administration and ultimately to the Board of Education, and we'll consider their recommendations at that point.
I doubt this would happen. I know, do they have the ability to reinstate the rebel mascot, or is that decision done?
That decision is done.
Now, you say you're putting together a committee. Is it going to be student body, staff, parents, people from the community all sitting on this committee? And what size of a committee are you looking for? How is it going to be representative of the students?
We'll probably have multiple committees and some subcommittees off the main body committee. We're still working through exactly how that'll be formed. Our principal, Eric Weegley, will head that initiative, and then we'll come back together and get some reports mid-year.
I've asked this question in a different way twice, so forgive me, but could you just take me through your thought process? What led you to say, I need to do this?
Actually, started getting more emails, phone calls from community folks. What spurred them to make the call? Maybe it was Charlottesville, maybe it wasn't, you know, I'm not sure. And at that point, just reflection on my own. How much longer can I ignore what I think is wrong for political purposes?
And you just think it's wrong?
I think it's wrong.
Just to clarify a timeline, you said probably middle of the year you're looking at having a decision. Does this mean that?
Reports. back.
Does this mean that the school will not have a mascot until a decision is made, or will the mascot stay until a decision is made?
The school will not use the rebel as a mascot until a decision is made.
still be tentatively mascot free until. it's
Well,
all
we're still the
mascot.
Rebels, it'll still be the Rebels, it just won't be, there won't be a Confederate. They really haven't had the Confederate soldier for a few years anyway. So it'll look the same as it always looked. The cheerleaders will be on the sidelines, and the student athletes will participate in athletics. There just won't be a Rebel guy on their uniform, or a Rebel guy on the basketball court, or a Rebel guy on the scoreboard.
You know, problem, Cannon.
That's another issue to be addressed. But
So for people unfamiliar with how present the mascot is at games and in daily life, did you have like a life-size Confederate mascot that was at games?
2 years ago, I believe was the last year, we had a student male who was dressed up like a Confederate soldier.
And does the Confederate soldier appear on any uniforms
Yes,
last year? And last year he did,
yes, it did.
but he won't this year.
That's correct.
And forgive me, are the school colors like rebel gray, and will the coloring of the uniform stay the same, the colors?
They will.
I'm curious about, if you guys have looked into, cost. You know, how much this is all going to cost to remove and replace.
We started that that was what preempted probably this conference, was our principal determining where does the Rebel mascot or icon, where is he, and what are our solutions or remedies. Many of them are inexpensive, some of them are a bit more expensive, but we buy new uniforms, just buy a new uniform that doesn't have the Rebel mascot on it. So there's only a couple of teams that have it, so that's not as bad. And on our scoreboards and some other places where you'll see the Rebel mascot, the intent is to cover those with a sticker or some type of covering that might be a block S or something else.
Starting today?
Well, it's gonna take a little bit of time. You gotta order them, you gotta have them installed, et cetera, but starting today, we're doing the work.
Is this a professional decision, a personal decision, both? How would you describe it?
Boy, you are just pounding me on this one, aren't you?
I just want to hear what made you think about it. You said your
Both
conscience.
both personal and professional.
How much support, you can talk about the possible opposition, how much support do you think there is for your decision?
There's support for sure. Again, I guess, call me in 3 days and I'll tell you.
Are you concerned that the education of the children is gonna be like a backdrop to this for a while?
I don't think so. I think the message to our students is we want to be inclusive. And I think that resonates with young people. I don't think the young people are as concerned about the mascot as older people like me.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.